Luisa Barbosa is a professor of administration at high school technical student school and higher education, PhD in administration, member of GT methodology of consensuological research, volunteer of the Union of Consensus-Centric Institution. We give the floor to instructor Luisa Barbosa. Morning all. It's a pleasure to be here, being able to interconnect and mediate the first table, not only because it's the first table, but because the authors of the 3 articles are people who I have a strong connection, and I consider I did an intermissive course together. So it's a pleasure to be here mediating this table. So in order to start, we'll be talking about the authors. So the first article, Eliane is a participant from the Zilda is graduated in mathematician, and she's a volunteer from the IC Pentology and from CEAEC. She is also together in the Interscientific Council from UNICEN. Now I called Cao Pei Hu. Cao Pei Hu is a natural from Foz do Iguaçu, master in administration, a volunteer in consensuology since 2003. And she is instructor of consensuology since 2015 and a penta practitioner since 2016. She is the author of 2 books, 2021 and 2022. She translated the books Moisés Bertone and Self-Healing Diary from 2023. Now the last author, which is going to present Milton Aguilar, the author. Instructor Milton comes from Argentina, graduated in electromechanical engineer. He's been a volunteer from consensuological volunteer since 2016 and instructor since 2019, penta practitioner since 2017. Welcome all the authors to our table. Zilda and Eliane, you now are going to have 30 minutes to present yourself. So I give the floor to you two for us to start the first table. Good morning all, my name is Isilda. I will start the presentation and then after we will have Eliane. I'll be sharing my slides. 1 second, please. So here we have interassistential triangulation in penta. It's a contextual analysis because we are talking our experiences. This is the high point of penta practitioner, and we intend to understand how this happened and why. So we want to share our ideas in order to reach this condition about how we experience this triangulation and how it happens. So the main goal is share ideas, self-reflections on the mechanisms that converge for the occurrence of interassistential triangulation in penta. So therefore, we thought to describe this subtlety, the subtle situation on our day by day in order for us to understand the penta mechanism for real. The methodology that we use is the self-reflection in the afterword of Penta. This methodology, this intra-consciential methodology, self-parapsychism, and consulting the verbatim on Encyclopedia of Conscienciology and the treatise and works related on our day-by-day. The consultation related with that, and also studying a few verbatim, treatises, and works related with the subject that we are talking here. Therefore, we arrive to talk about the phenology. So what is that? The intra-assistential triangulation in Penta is the operational and functional action resulting from the set of consciousness involved during this session. So the technical function helper, the assistance who makes the interdimensional bridge, the assisted projected, and the summated consciousness. So this you'll find on Vieira 2019, page 1918. So we understand that triangulation, the moment in which we connect the helper, the person who needs assistance, and the person who is assisting. So our life monopolizes a lot. For us to arrive in this moment, to really arrive in this interconnection moment, Penta is actually is based on the dynamics of interassistential conviviality, or so to say, para-conviviality between the function, the function helper, the Penta practitioner, and the assisted one, intertwined in the synergism to helping and being helped. So it's multi-dimensional bridge that we create. So then this is the point of interconnection, interfusion in the helper-assisted assistant triangulation due to the unalignment of our body during our Penta practitioner. Therefore, for this to happen, we need to think more on Penta during our entire day. When everything starts to generate a sort of a confluence for that, then we have that that triangulation. And Penta is really working in our day by day. Then in this moment, we can establish a strong interconsciential connection that can lead to the 24-hour Penta connection. Because then helpers will see, and our Penta starts really to flow, saying that from this moment, we jump from being simple intraphysical consciousness into extra-physical interconnected consciousness. So therefore, it's important thinking that there is a principle, the principle of not thinking badly of anyone. It's a fundamental for us to establish this mega strong trait and mega strong connection with helpers. So then what we need to do to really get involved for the helper's way of thinking. So the first step is the principle of not thinking badly of anyone. And this will end also as will end transforming into a prophylaxis. Of course, when we think about not thinking bad, we are not, we don't want us to think badly about ourselves. Otherwise, we end up intoxicating the penta field. So the first thing we contaminate is our psychosphere. So how can a helpers arrived in intoxicated and contaminated psychosphere? So the principle of not thinking badly of anyone starts in ourselves, establishing a way of thinking that is better. And in this situation, as a consequence, we end up creating an entire balance and positive psychosphere. So it's important to understand that in this triangulation, we end up establishing this binomial empathy, solidarity. So when we talk about empathy and solidarity, we are talking about the helpers, multidimensionality, so on and so forth. And then the group karmic interconnection. First, the consciousness that we will not be separated is ourselves. So we cannot escape ourselves. So if we are not empathic with ourselves, we will end not being empathic with the helpers. Not talking about being becoming an intruder or intruding others. No, when we talk about empathy, it's a better level of self-care and a better level of empathy. From there, we will end up having a much better psychosphere. So the coupling with the helpers, how we perceive that. So this is our experience during Penta, the release, the looseness of the energosoma. So we perceive that this disconnection and alignment of the energosoma, this starts with the energetic interfluxes of information of the field, and this field gets larger and larger, expanded. So then we perceive that the coupling with the helpers is being perceived and enveloping, embracing, in the embracing mode. No, and then we can perceive this intensification of the interconnections. So I feel some situation in my arms now, like a numbness. And the helpers, I perceive that they are like embracing ourselves, involving our entire holosoma. And this is our direct experience with the couplers, helpers, couplers. Now Eliane will talk. Hello. One moment. We are having a technical problem. One problem, please. So one of the strong traits that we mentioned before is the abnegation. So this posture, this way of behaving, when we talk about abnegation, it's important to understand this development of this sort of abnegation, reflecting about this. Another item, a strong trait, is the self-positioning. So developing a fearlessness and a confidence in the team acts. We perceive that this is something that happens a lot, very often, very recurrent. So this behavior of self-positioning, believing more in the extra-physical theme, in the team acts, being aware that we are not alone there. Another point is the commitment. And then we have a quote from instructor Vieira that we mentioned that the best is the candidate to a Penta practitioner is being as pragmatical as he can be, in a very pragmatic way, trying to overcome from the multidimensional way with a strong level of commitment. So it's important either the pre-Penta practitioner or the Penta practitioner developing this strong commitment, identifying what are the recyclers that they need to do in order to qualify. Another item is the availability. Yesterday we mentioned, Max mentioned that Penta is not during 50 minutes. It tends to spread during our entire life, day by day during our 24-hour life. So this is a selection. This is a choice from the Penta practitioner. You start to perceive that Penta is the main pillar of your life. So this availability, whenever you are, for example, in one specific context, one event, and then you perceive some signals that the extra physical consciousness that is in need of assistance, and then you just go and exteriorize energy and become available. Step by step, we tend to eliminate these other postures that are not connected with the Penta practitioner. So on continuation, we also want to highlight the vibrational state. It's the facilitating the helper Penta practitioner synergism. So it's important to promote this energetic practice. So what we want to reinforce is develop this stronger habit of establishing a vibrational state. So then together with the helpers, we can master better the energies on day by day, on our everyday. Another point that we brought is the exteriorizations, for example, to promote the personal psychosphere and the welcoming environment. Really exteriorize the best energies wherever, whenever I am. Even here in our forum, with the colleagues, with people, with family, having this personal posture of embracing and exteriorizing interassistance with everybody. Another point is the physical immobility, because during this session, it facilitates the consultation. For example, if you are starting your Penta and you are concerned with a specific fact that happens on your day by day, it's kind of hard to focus and to place your mind on that. So for us to establish this triangulation. So it's important if you are available, no, so do not master. It's not, the penta, it doesn't belong to you to master. You just let it go, work with energies, and establish, create that posture so extra physical helpers can work and take care of the consciousness that are around. And also the detachment, this qualification of attentive passivity, being aware, being lucid about what is happening around us. And then, of course, writing down, registering is important. One thing we perceive is the lucid projection. There are many penta practitioners that already start penta being experts on popping out of the body, but the para facts and the para perceptions, they happen from natural day by day. And those experiences, they end up developing and stimulating the projection. So then they will end up developing and creating and having lucid projection. In the para-perceptions, we perceive that we end up perceiving that our penta, actually, they are done with the helpers. Of course, this is not straightforward. When we start, it will take some time for us to establish that triangulation, that connection. So it is actually a trinomial. No, it's exactly this triangulation that the instructor Vieira used to mention. Now we're going to talk about the effects on penta. So for every penta practitioner, there are different experiences. So we are now talking about specific effects. For example, you are doing your penta and then a door might clap, or any other physical effect might happen, and that has been observed with frequency very often. And those were the effects that came from the strong level of ectoplasmia, creating and establish this energetic interassistential field. One thing that we want to highlight again is the ethossanity. No, once more, you go to practice your penta, being concerned with a strong level of anxiety that needs to be done, and you don't perceive. It's in your face, but you don't perceive, or on your face and you don't perceive. The sanity, they start to create the holosphere. So when we talk about intraphysical and extraphysical and existential recyclings, there are it's never one thing. It's an everyday behavior. If you have this interdimensional commitment, you will be establishing your self-recyclings every day, and you will be able to stabilize energy for extra-physical consciousness that are in need of. Sometimes you are in the field, and then you feel like goosebumps or some pressure on your head, and that might be physical, of course, but it also might be related with your sanity. So what had you taught in that moment for you to have this effect? Another point is related with the holosphere of penta exemplarism. Exudes benignity and understanding coupled with the function helper. It is enhanced during penta session. So those effects that happen on penta, they tend to spread the effect. So this means that you end up developing this help, this tendency of acting as a helper as well, intraphysical helper as well. And then at the end, we conclude that this work brought the self-confirmation experiences of interassistential triangulation in penta. It's also important to register, to write about what happened on our penta. So being able to register, that will help you articles on your day by day. Here. It means that you end up observing this interassistential triangulation. And then the interfusion of the energospheres connecting the tuned consciousness was the top moment. The effect that a penta, practicing penta promotes on people's life, it's amazing. It's really a top moment. So it means that you are helping people that are connected with you in some way, registered, related with you on past lives. And then, according to the recycling that you were doing, recycling is considered to be the main foundation of the pentalogical exercise, which is the group inter-assistance. So this is all this is connected with this inner recycling, because this is totally interconnected with the group interconnection. So it means that from whenever we qualify ourselves, we end up becoming better people and spreading all over us, promoting this group inter-assistance that generates some a strong energosphere around the penta practitioner. Because then if we don't recycle, we can't establish this group. If we don't have our inner recycle, we also do not promote our group inter-assistance. So considering penta, we always have time before starting penta, and then the effects on post starting the practice of penta. Thank you all. Thank you, the authors. It's great to have here. Very interesting. I strongly suggest you read that. Now we are going to give the word to Cal, and then at the end, register your questions and things you want to ask.
Good morning to everyone. So I'm going to start with introduction while they get ready. The title of my research is Experience of Intersistential Auscultation in Daily Life and Penta. Why I wanted to do this work on this topic, okay? Because I was invited, and then I don't have a great experience, and then I look for a good topic, and then I checked my verbatis, and then I look for strong traits that I did not give the proper importance. And then I said, oh, let's research this topic about the auscultation in the daily life and how it goes with the penta. So let's start. So let's go through the slides, and then here the objectives. So in 2016, when I started my penta, and then 4 days later, I went to make a course on the Penta IC to understand this universe, and then I did a course with Valkyria and Malukobi. And then something important that came, it was kind of thanking, because she told a lot of cases, like small situations that you don't give the proper importance. It's just a exchange or something that you see. But for the Penta practitioner, it changed a little bit. So as you get lucid and you open your extraphysical antennas, it gets different from how you see these cases from the daily life. And then I heard that and said, wow. So, and I thought that was really interesting. And it was a key that turned in my start of my process, Penta process. And then that today that I continue this Penta process. So the objective of this work here is to present the experience of the Penta practitioner, my experience on the intersistential auscultation in everyday life and Penta. So to start to understand the process of the auscultation, we need to intersistential auscultation. We need to bring two concepts here. The first one is the empathic autopsychosphere that I'm going to read the definition. It's the intersistential tosenic condition of the self-lucid conscious man or woman, marked by the energies of attractiveness, reliability, dedramatization, unconceptualization, and anti-condemnatory frankness. And I highlight this last two in orange, creating the fraternal, inter, and intraconsensual climate conducive to the parateutic critical catharsis of those assistants. Yeah, okay. I thought that, okay, we lost the connection for a moment. It's back. So looking for having an attitude of the experience, and then you have this, you need to have the self-lucidity about everything that you interact with the people in your daily life. And then I bring to me, and I start to ask myself, why that information came to me? Why I received that information? What's happening with that person? So the moment that that person comes and talk with me and have a coffee with me, I start to pay attention. That's a characteristic that I have. So today I start some chit-chat discussion, and then as the person starts to go a little bit deeper, I start to pay attention. So the next one that it was really another one that is very interesting is from that's verbate, that's intersistential auscultation in daily life. That's the second verbate, because according to Olivia Rochadel, it's the act or effect of capturing, considering, perceiving, investigating, scrutinizing, analyzing, and discerning aspects of the assisted person's intraconsensuality, seeking mature and cosmoetical action through altruistic empathy. So that's it. When you talk with someone, when you start to really listen to that person, we go into their field and you coupling that, and then you start to connect better. And then I'm going to bring how we get each step that you create this auscultation, but not necessarily all that steps you take place in that sequence. Okay, you need to check your lab con. Okay, for me, my mapping, what I present here, it was the mapping how it works for me, and to register, okay, what's happening, okay, for my partner. And then this is in 12 stages or steps. So in the article, we have more details. So how this starts this auscultation process? It look for your openness, okay? Then later the assistant comes, and assistant tell you a story, could be in the work, could be in the volunteering or whatever. And then you start to listening. You relax your holosoma. If you have an inspiration, you start to externalize energies. So you go and start coupling with that person to try to understand what's happening. And then the demand comes, okay? The person tells you an experience, and then you all come and silence. At the same time that you stay connected, you silence to understand what is happening. Beyond what you're hearing, you look to the energies, the parapsychic process, what's in the subjective in the question. Then the signals. And then you look at if you have any signals from baiting, from the helper coming closer. So you work your energies before doing it the way that you prefer. So there is a field that installs and sustains. And then it's really the key, the sustain, that's something that I like to reinforce. Because when I did not have lucidity, the field was installed and I was not sustaining. The sustaining, it's important. So then we come with deepening, that because we couples and we lucidly assimilate. So you do the process of auscultation, trying to understand what's happening in a deeper way. And then with lucidity all the time, you keep yourself calm and maintain connection with the help. Then you have a completion of the field, and then you start to do the disassign. And then that demand that you received during your day, you bring to your penta, you remember, and then your daily contacts, and then the evocations, and then you bring it to your penta, and then you forward it. So now I'm going to bring a personal case here. Just to give an example. So the case that I'm bringing happened in 2021 in my work environment during the pandemic. In that moment, I still could go to the office using masks. I used it to work afternoon and nights in the finance department. Then I had a colleague that it was very out of her standard, a little bit too excited, nervous. So I'm going to work energies and see what happens. Okay, I'm not going to approach her right now. So when she was in the peak of her process, then she comes and to talk with me, but it was a little bit out of normal, despite the fact that we usually talk to each other. Then I start to listen, and then she told several details about something that was very serious. I worked the energies, and then that stages that I mentioned, I started to pay attention. And I thought initially that was extrapolation because I start to feel every one of that stages that and then I placed this image here, like it was like if we were out with you, or talking together, and it was like I have a spotlight between us. And then the cardio, the energies I was working, the cardio was, I'm very active, so one, and then I keep controlling it, and then I said, self-confidence, I'm a Penta practitioner, I've been 3 years in Penta, so let work with that, and then I'm going to help everything you go, okay, will go well. So I perceived that the was complete, and then I did my disassign, my Dimas, and then I said, okay, it go well. Then we start to talk about other things and start to change the block. And then he came to go back to the subject, and then I pretend that I was not interested because the process of the assistance, it was already happened. And then the subject stopped. And then that day, I'm not the kind of person that have lucidity during the penta, but obvious. I brought that demand to my penta session. I exteriorize it. I focus in the people. So then the next day, I realized that the environment was better. And then other days I've realized that was good. 1 or 2 months later, after some time, she came and comments that the outcoming of that assistance. I'm not sure if it happened with you, but in some cases we heard later about how the story ends. And finally, okay, I have here the strong traits. Okay, so Olivia, I based it on her verbatim. So she placed 12 procedures that helps on the intersistential auscultation. And then I got from the verbatims that I found the most important strong traits that it has connection with my LabCon, but I brought here only 7 because of time. So for me, the most important ones from the 12, okay, the top 7 for me, it was welcoming. So what the penta practitioner needs to have the auscultation. So they need to have welcoming, good mood to deal with the facts and parafacts that comes, a process of fraternism with the person that it has contact with the casuistic, the mental silence, because as Marina Thomas says on the spasticity dynamics, do not interfere with the process, okay? So parapsych sensitivity, the self-discernment all the time, and then the helper freely to be connect with the helper, to like to work with the helper all the time. And then the final phrase here, after the beginning of the scene, there was a greater rapport between her and the penta helper. She began to understand a little bit more about the way penta demands arrive and the opening of the interdimensional communication channel with the penta helper. So translating, as I was writing the article, I did not give the proper importance to it about the auscultation and so on, and then talk with some people that more veteran than me. But Carl, from what you're telling us, that's a pattern of assistance that you have. That's the modus operandi that the helper works with you. So just for you to understand, for whoever does not know me, okay, it happened several times that I'm walking through the CEAEC, I am on the street and I work, and people that I do not talk, I'm not close to them, they come and start to talk with me and bring the demands. And there are situations that I met the person, and then from nothing start to tell me things from the work that I knew that was confidential. The people tell me the fact, the parafact, and then comes, I don't know why I told you that. But so it happens all the time. So the person comes to me and starts to tell me this story. And I start to realize how recurring it was, this kind of situation. So I need to bring it to Penta. I need to understand that. And they start to question me. So that's why I put that it was a kind of discovery. I have assumption of this intercommunication channel. What happened that during the day, initially, for some people, you can think that it happened in that moment and then finish, but they start to realize that there was a connection and I have possibility to get that situations and work with the Penta helper. And then when I was working with writing the article, I start to pay more attention and do this recycling and so on. And then that's it. Thank you very much. So thank you. So soon we are going to go to the questions. Milton?
Okay. So good morning all. Thank you for the presence here. It's great to be here and it's a joy to present this article Projective Experiences in Penta and Revealing of Self-Strong Traits. So what's the main goal of this article? It's to share the interassistential phenomena experience, emphasizing the development of self-strong traits and communication with extra-physical helpers. Why interassistential? Because I saw myself very well assisted through the extra-physical helpers, and through that assistance that I received, I was able to assist others. That was the main base for myself to develop that article. So the amplification of the interconnection with the extra-physical helpers. So what happens with me? I started to experience during these Penta sessions lucid and semi-lucid projectabilities. That happens a lot with the pandemic that everybody was at home. It was very, very vivid, the amount of the extra-physical experiences that I started having. And then I started to think about how I could qualify about that interconnection between penta, projectability, and interassistentiality. I started looking in Verbetes and in Instructor Vieira book. Two definitions I can bring here for us to start. First, it's Ioni Verbetti, which is the synergism penta-lucid projectability. What's that? It is the potentializing effect generated by the associated action of the penta with the lucid projection of the consciousness out of the physical body, promoting the para-perceptions of the interassistential reality of the joint conscious and effect action of the lucid conscious with the extra-physical function helper. So this is the effect that potentialize two things, not only penta and the lucid projection. This is the effect, it's like a synergism. When I interconnect penta with the projectability, it potentializes due to the interaction between both. So there are strongly interassistential consequences. We received lots of help, and we helped a lot. And we can develop a lucid and interesting para connection and para perception as well. Another definition that I was able to find that helped me a lot, that I want to share with you, is the technique that Instructor Vieira presented in the projectology book. We used that technique when we were participating in the projectability dynamic, which is the assisted projection technique applied during penta. So I thought this technique is intertwined, it's interconnected with the experience I had before. So what is this technique? Is the assisted conscious projection. It's a projection technique that is essentially anemic and parapsychic, in which you, as the conscious projection, are directly assisted or commanded during the experiment by a helper, almost always an expert in projections, a special type of projection for all sensitypes with some development. I thought it was quite interesting, this technique. because there is a strong level of relationship with the penta. As we mentioned before, we don't command, we don't master, we don't decide, we don't control our penta. So either in penta and also in this technique, you are command, you are mastered by an expert. And this phrase, this sensitive with some development, I recall since I was a child, I used to experience extra-physical projections. So I remember I was able to enlarge this capacity when I was a child, and that got strongly embedded with studying conscienciology. And then after that, I started to do self-research, and I was able to develop a technique that I applied. I want to share with you. So I call this technique assisted projection applied during penta. Assisted projection technique applied during penta. Usually what I do is before penta, I write date, time, temperature, humidity of the day, and if any fact or pair effect caught my attention. Any coupling, I felt helpers, I felt the expansion of energies, strong demand. If anything called my attention, I register, I write it down. And then I place myself in a sofa in a comfortable position. And then I scan my energosoma, check, and let my mind in a blank stage. And then I offer myself, I place myself in this availability, this holosomatic availability, with the intention of permeate by cosmoethics. So let the best happen to everyone without wanting to control the experimentation, but of course thinking that may the best happens for everyone, and I will be relaxing and trusting on their job. After that, the fourth pillar, when I am going to have a specific projective demand, I receive two sorts of signals. First is the helper presence. It's like an extra physical consciousness come closer to myself, and then I can feel the signs of assistential projections demand. It's like someone is bringing myself, placing myself up. And then I can feel the command of the helpers after sensing the helper's command at the demand for the projection, the assisted projection technique is applied. And then after, usually there is the space or a space of lucidity. Usually in this technique, you do not experience yourself popping out, of taking out of your intraphysical body, but you see yourself with a strong level of lucidity. That's why I placed this design with this mini piece there. So then calmly you try to help. And for example, today, you do the para-safety, go as quietly as possible, help to reassume this group. As I mentioned before, usually I don't see this take off, so usually I see myself outside of the body, performing the work requested by the helpers. After this job, I experienced the interiorization at the end of the assistential work, the psychosoma fit is experienced and the spare effect is understood and as the end of the penta session. Finally, what I do is I register what happened, the learnings I had that I was able to obtain during this experimentation without doing any sort of evocation, registering and writing about what I could learn and what I took, what was the best profit from that. So here one example. Once I was doing penta, and then I experienced what I was talking, some specific assistance demand. I saw myself being commanded by the helpers, and then I saw myself in a stone cave. I saw a group of extra-physical consciousness around myself. They were laying down in a sort of a rustic bed. They were mixed with others. It was a strong symbiosis process, but I was lucid that an interassistential job were being held in order to detect those extra-physical consciousness, and my job would be exteriorize a strong level of extra-physical energy. And then from there, after exteriorizing, I saw everything white until those two specific extra-physical consciousness, they were able to detach. When this detachment happens, the environment changed completely, and then another environment popped out as it was a clean hospital. So it seems that the helpers were able to detach those those two extra-physical consciousness, bringing out of the rustic cave and placing in the Perwa hospital. And then I could face and understand, and I understood that my work was finalized, was concluded. Then I went down off my body and registered that extra-physical experience about what happened and what I learned. So what have I learned? That I had a strong sort of job to do, and that the extra-physical helpers, they trust on myself. That was what happens after that. That was interesting what happened. And then after that, which happened, one interesting point that I perceive is that it was important for me to develop my strong traits. It means a strong trait self-development experience, enhancing my self-confidence. Of course, they know I can help, but it was important for me to develop more and more my strong traits. That's why I write down a few strong traits that I am working to develop more and more. So that's why I wrote about a few. This, for example, this self-unalignment, this self-decoincidence. So it means invest in the vibrational state and in the exercise of externalization of energies, seeking energosomatic homeostasis. Also, this self-discipline, the technical and orderly procedures constantly and responsibly to optimize evolutionary results. As I presented, it started like a simple experience and ended up becoming a technique. the self-evolving continuity, this persistence in a healthy and uninterrupted way in self-evolution, applying strong traits, seeking the recycling of weak traits, and the conquest of lacking traits. So this is what I try to do, and also the parapsychic docility. So learning and sharing about paraperceptiology, study and publication of multidimensional experiences. I see that writing down helps us to coordinate the ideas and help us to share the para-experimentations. Another point that I saw is that this present force, it's important because for me it's important because this is how we want to interfere in a good humor way the environment, establishing the more important subjects for us to research and to study, because whenever we stop this drama, whenever we stop these negative things, focusing on negative things, we look for other ways, positive ways to interconnect and to develop one strong approach towards our life. Another point that I thought about it was this resoluteness and this interconnection with helpers, seeking the best of everyone, establishing the connection with helpers, seeking all the time the best and the best for everyone and for us as well. And the energy sensitivity, refining and develop the energetic para-perception, understanding the mechanism of sympathetic assimilation and the assimilation from the mental somatic point of view. Because whenever we are aiming to assist, we aim to interconnect with everybody from a lucid point of view. But on the other hand, we are also looking to detach, to disconnect from a lucid perspective. Last but not least, I leave a phrase here for all of us. The assistance provided resulting from the experience of projections in Penta can boost individual and group evolution based on personal effort and the research of self-parapsychism. So what it means that this assistance that we do, it kick out our evolution. We are not only we perceive that we are not only the intraphysical body. If we use in a positive way, we can help others. I see myself receiving more help, a lot of help, than helping others. So this also helped a lot my evolution due to this self-effort, because I help others and I end up being able to help a bigger group of extra-physical consciousness. As a self-researcher, it's important to investigate more and more about self-parapsychism, observing and experience more and more things that happens with me. I see that it's important to study verbetes and the para-phenomena that we talked a lot in conscienciology. Now I give the word and the floor to Louisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Milton, for the excellent explanation. Well, I'm going to make some observations about each article and then one question to each author. So I was thinking about the matter of this table here. So called my attention that the three article brought the strong traits characteristics of the authors. So all authors makes strong traits assumptions, and this gives a consistency. So when the praxis assumes the strong traits, okay, and realize that they have capacity to do the assistance process, the helpers can connect more with the Penta practitioner. So that is a better connection with the functional helper. So if I could make this thematic of this table, would be assumption of the intersistential strong traits pro Penta practitioning. So my first question goes to the first article, the Isilda and Eliane. The article is very well written. The reference is very well done. The methodology, it's very to the point, very didactic. Isilda, Eliane, what called my attention to your article in the page 19. I'm going to read because I'm not sure if everybody has the article here. The paragraph says, observation. The para-investigation of the connections, intense connections, it was observed attention with the minimum of interference, getting the conclusion that energetic interfusion and paracerebral, parabrain connections. It's a moment to have recycling ideas for the assistant and the assistant and the assisting consent. So can you expand a little bit this paragraph here? So this was the top moment of our article. So the continuity of this article made me almost visualize this idea of the recycling new ideas. How did you get to this conclusion? Or if you have some casuistry to share, please. So it happens for me that when I'm researching or trying to understand a problem from others, not only mine, trying to understand the why it's happening. And then I perceived that the helpers, in the time of the Penta, it leaves a seed, an interfusion seed. So because there are some happenings in the Penta, sometimes it's a request for the Penta, and then it comes the ideas during the day, and it happens a lot. So the Penta, my Penta is not about seeing, feeling. It's more about ideas for me. So then I come, why? I start to thinking about the behavior of the person. And then I make another article now that we are talking about morphotocin and the Penta ability. So the consciousness thought. The human consciousness can change what they think. If they change what they think, they can change the shape. So you are going to change the morphotocin. So you go changing the you are changing yourself, and around you starts to change too. So we make the interaction with the assisted, and then the assisted has a view of the end of the tunnel. So because the assisted perceives somebody that's getting better and somebody that already got better, and then change the way of thinking getting out of the parapsychos. Okay, the assistant can change it, and then it can be able to go to the intermissive course, and when reborn, it will get better. I'm not sure if I could explain well. Eliane can also try to explain. Yes, you explained it very well. And then also the minimum of interference. I cannot think about what's happening in that moment. I realize that moment. I just can learn that moment. That's the synergism of the assist and being assistant. This synergism, it's very important. You get much more matured in an exponential way. Thank you. And then while she was explaining, I remember a fact that I had an event in my Penta. So in one of the Penta practices, the Penta helper came to me to make an interference and created a condition that I met a father from other life, and then, because I always had problems with the figure of father. And then with that opportunity to hug that concierge, it made me to overcome that it was years of therapy, that I did not have a father in this life. And then on that event, on that practice, it was a highlight moment for me. And then I had an inner peace coming. So in past lives, I had a father, and then this one I did not have. So it was a different condition, this life. And then I think that the Penta provides this therapeutic, okay, and parasurgery situation sometimes. Very interesting, your case. So now I'm going to the Cal's article. I found your article extremely didactical. That's a light article with a lot of experience on it. So that's part of her article. So I suggest you read, everyone to read it. So despite of the fact that you get a theoretical reference and then you get from your experience and your experiments, and then from the principle of disbelief, you start to, with your experience, start to create another theory. And the stage of the auscultation, as you go reading, okay, you can understand the process and even see Carl doing the helping process. So the assisting process. So I found it very, very interesting. So my question is the following. After your strong trait assumption with the writing of this article, what changed in your intersistential auscultation? Has anything changed, or have you changed the way that you see the Penta practice? Because this is assumption of your singularity on the intersistence, how it was. So, Louisa, it changed. So while I was writing the article, I was questioning myself and then thinking that if it really that or not. So the call that wrote the article is very different from the call that we have today, so from 1 year to now. So you start to research, you start to study, you start to systematize what you experience, and then you place on the paper, you connect with the helper, and then when you go back, you read again, you review, then you prepare the slides, and then you start to build new synapses, and then you go learning during this process of the writing, the revision, during all the process. So Cal changed a lot. So all these stages and techniques that I created, okay, it helped me to bring to the bright side, okay, to the lucidity. It really helped me. So I talked with somebody that it was very veteran penta practitioning, and after because I did not know how to write before, and then after I wrote it, I went back to talk again with that person to understand what in my first discussion I did not understand, and I start to understand in the second time. So as I exchange information with other penta practitioners, I start to get other aspects too. So, and then the assumption of my singularity, it was important. And then I was talking with Milton, that he knows me for 14, 15 years. And then he told me, hey, it's not something common. The way that it happens with you, it's above the average. And then it was a discovery that was very important. So because of the question of the intersistential channel. So my penta did not work the way that the people say. So and then I could not fit myself with all the reports. And then I start to see what happens in my daily life and how it ends on my penta. So for each person is different. That's why it's a personal energy test. It's individual for each person. So it changed a lot for me. So the idea that comes when you read, and then that with this you have had an assumption of more about your consensuality, and then get something that was intuitive, and now you know it better. And then I remember when I reread my article. So one thing that helped me, it was when I defended the self-verbete, and then watch the video, see again the feedbacks from the invitees that were there. So the self-verbete, I did like a report a part of the life of the Peru, and then my alabicon, and what I wanted to brought in that moment, and that helped me and give support to what I was writing here. So the self-verbete for me, it was a milestone. So I felt different after that. So somebody come to me and say, Carl, I would like to know you two better. So watch my self-verbete and you're going to understand me. So now, Milton, your article from the three was the one that more had impact on me. So about identification, but your similarity of your experience with mine, it was shocking. The projective process in the process, transfiguration, the places changing, the parasecurity, the context of parasecurity. It was like if I was seeing a masculine version of my process. So then there are some penta practitioning that it's makes have something that what would be in the natural process, and then some people say that the more advanced lucid conscious projection will take like after 10 years, and then I see it coming here, and then I really had a connection with your article. Another thing that found it interesting for this your duo, you have a similar energy when you have the assumption of your strong trait. So the same question from Carl. When you start to have the assumption of your lucid projection in connect to the penta, how was this process to your penta? It bond you more, connect you more with your helper? Yes. In reality, I reflect about exactly what you said here. I looked for verbatim and articles, And then people did not talk about the penta practices during the conscious projection during the penta. A little bit when I have the Professor Valdo, but I found just few articles. So I found that it was important, but and then I could not run away from my experience. So, and then I experienced the projections as I presented. There is a technicity that I searched for. I pursued this technicity that make it a better flow with the helpers. So the increase of the self-confidence, it comes when we have this experience, and then you start to have a better facility of communication. But what impact more, it was the assumption of technicity and the increase of the connection with the helpers. So the word is with the audience now. Good morning, everyone. Congratulations to all authors, excellent works, very assistential. And I have 3 questions, one to each author. Do I do all of them or one by one? Identify what's the article and then do the question, please. So the authors Eliane and Zilda call my attention when author Zilda said, do not think bad, ill of yourself. And then I want to ask, how do they do in relation to the self-realism of weak traits, to make a distinction between self-corruption and not thinking well of yourself, to make a comparison between these 2 questions. A recognition of the weak trait without getting into the self-corruption and not thinking bad will of yourself. It's very serious what you're saying. It's not to give a pass. I know my weak traits. One, it's to be over technical, okay? But what I think is that my technical could be refined with my exemplarism. That's not that I want everybody to be technical. So, for example, Cal, she's presenting a work, excellent, on her style, Milton. The limit, the more serious limit, is not the self-corruption of the weak trait. It's not to highlight too much strong trait that it's so strong, that so rigid that can almost become a weak trait. So I should not think ill of myself. Why I have that? I cannot have a psychosphere that smells like mud, smells like bad feelings. Okay, I need to have a psychosphere that it's clean for my helpers. It doesn't mean that I'm going to give a pass. It's simply that I need to be realistic about I'm still that way. And then I need to study all the time to understand what I did, what I am, and then learn to assist more. Like if you heard about a child that was raped, and then you need to hold your emotional side, and then other day in the penta, it can come the perpetrator. So if I think about that perpetrator, I'm not going to help then when it comes to my penta. So to think bad, I need to think well of myself. So I need to keep my psychosphere clean, okay, like scented. And then if I think about the weak traits all the time, okay, this psychosphere will have a bad smell. And helpers do not think bad of themselves. The weak trait of the helper is like to continue to live on this fear here. This is weak trait land. So very good your explanation. And just to complement, in Penta, we share our well-being. That's a process to help ourselves going through our recyclings without guilt, without self-corruption, because then we are sharing our well-being. My level of Penta is the level of the well-being. Chukal, I would like to ask, and then it was evident for me that you're welcoming to the consciousness. How do you do in the sustaining of your auscultation when you see like that events, road rage on traffic on the roads, people in the work, okay, but it's like when it comes like a demand, but it comes in an aggressive way or nosographic way. Depends. I'm going to give you the reality. It's not so simple. If I'm lucid, if I'm well, I manage it. A lot of efforts. I'm not going in confrontation because I know I have a bellicist temperament. There are moments that I can understand the person, it's not personal, the person is not well, but there are other moments that I can't. I got stressed. And what it had helped me, besides the self-reflection and then recycling, is to join the dynamic of self-dispersity. So I am on, I start on as a team participant, now I'm part of the team. And then there's Orta Pensata. It's a little bit transversal, but it's connected. So I have fight or flight. So I stayed a moment on the flight for a long time to run away from the confrontations. And now I need to coupling with the predators, with the intruders, with the people that disturb me, and assume my part, my contribution. So the creditor's book, that's something that it's important. This participity, it's when you run away from your intruders and you start to assist them with efficient. The question is the self-facing, self-confrontation. How do you do this process with this reactivity and my bellicism? What's my limit? What's the moment that I'm not going to return, but also I can put the limits with respect? I talked a lot with a colleague that we talked about this subject. She's not from conscientiology, and she has a different temperament. So she's more quiet, more passive, and I'm more choleric and reactive. So from time to time, we exchange informations at work. How can deal with a third person? So I do it like a self-research process. You not work all the time, like I've been hovering around. But my first step is assume my bellicist. So my heterocode, bellicist is one of my 3 Holothuceans. So to look yourself, to assume yourself, it starts from there. To Milton, when you say that you invest in the vibrational state, how do you do? Do you count it 20 times per day, or you do it randomly, or it's spontaneous? How you do it? In truth, you described the process. In the beginning, I used the IIPC spreadsheet, and then I would count the vibrational states and giving grades to each one of it. So from 1 that I could not do it, up to 5 that it was, it was excellent. And then I would have tables in Excel and so on. But over the time, I saw that the energetic work became more natural. I did not need to accommodate myself to do the vibrational state. The process become a better flow. It's just like going to the gym, okay? The first moments you start to have a lot of pain, and then you go and it becomes natural, and then you do it very well. So it's the same thing with the VS. So after you invest a lot on it and you do not give it up, it starts to get it better. You start to like it, and then you start to qualify better in an energetic way. So that's a process that I went through. Thank you. So we have an online question. Ricardo. Hello, Milton. You showed a picture of the hospital. I was the first one that called it. The picture is exactly the place where I am. Thinking about, please analyze it and for you to think. It's not a comment, okay? It's just for you to think. I'm going to give another information. When I came here, I showed the picture and she liked the hospital. I think that you, me, and Carl, you are connected. Synchronicities from the forum. More questions? I would should give congratulations to the. I have a question to Carl. To the recurrence of auscultation. To make a system for this type of auscultation. So thinking about if it was a signal for a 24-hour penta. No, Angela. Thank you for the question. I do not question me. Thinking about what would be the penta, I'm just in the beginning. I start to look for my style, how it works, and so on. Thank you for the question. Could not be penta 24 hours, but maybe it's not a penta 24 hours, but have you thought on the possibility that you have a high demand of concierges over you, and then they use the conscience as a channel? So I start to thinking when I was writing the article, but I need to think more because something that called my attention, especially when I talked of Milton, why so many people comes to talk with me? So I need to think and place it on my self-research. Seems to be a high demand. That's a simple suggestion to try to understand why you have this level of demand. Came to one. There is a demand that it shows very clear to you. Okay, so it's very important to understand the way that I started the Penta. It was very curious. When I knew the conceptuology, when I heard about Penta, I ran away. I said, this is far away from my temperament and my things. So I started in the 2013, the volunteer, and then I started Penta in 2019. 2015, I went to do the dynamic of intersistent on monarchy, and then there was activity with the Epicon that you could make questions. I have my questions. When I wait for my time, I before I did the question, I I I received the prescription of 5 labs of vibrational state and start your creditor's book. I did not even think about anything. Okay, so I'm going thinking about what it is, and then to depend the ability person. Okay, and then I was making the teaching course at the same time, and then I was starting to study, to read, okay, to make a balance of what was possible, and then I start to do it the way that I look into the way that I wanted. Maybe 2019 or before, and then I start to apply this technique. So, and then it helped me a lot. And then it helped. And then as you talk, I need to connect it more in my self-research. That's a paradox. You have the same moment the person do not want, but we have a lot of people close to them. Okay, so that's not a paradox. That's contradictory. Okay, but it's important to study and understand more it in your case. I want to comment something that came to my mind. 2016, I went to drive you. I went to drive you, and we were going home. And then the last phrase is said, "Now I am a Penta practitioner." There are things that I do not think anymore. And then I was not a Penta practitioner at that time. It gave me an impact. I need to study, to recycle it. And then the serious way that you said, I I needed to take it more serious. Okay, it was a clarity test that you did for me, and then it could be connected to this positioning. More questions? Good morning, everyone. Congratulations to the three. I found interesting the Isildas. You already answered my question. Why not to think bad will of anyone? It's a foundational clause of my personal code of cosmetics, and thank you for it. Chukal, it also touched me your presentation about auscultation and no judgment. And then I would like to make a question. So the three things that helped your process: openness, empathy, the person that shake to you will come to you, and parasite sensitivity. The person wants to come to you. Which one of the three will help you more? Openness, empathy, and the parasite sensitivity. For me, it was the three more important. For me, from these three, empathy is the more important. Why? Because the openness, I already have it from previous lives. The parasite sensitivity, I have since childhood. Empathy, that was a process that I need to research. I need to recycle. So to understand this process, why the demand comes, why I'm by myself and the people come. So it was a recycling process to understand the process of empathy. Thank you.
And Milton, it touched me a lot, your presentation. Congratulations. And I think that is very interesting when you said about the synalectics, the demand of the assisted. So I would like you to explain a little bit more in order to help me and the group as well. So, in a verbete of Professor Instructor Valdo, and a book as well from Sandra Tornieri, those signals are very personal. It starts with you yourself. So how do I see this process of the synaletics with myself? When we start mapping, we start writing down and qualifying our synaletics, we improve our communication with the helpers. So you will have these goosebumps, for instance. We see all these signals and try to translate them in a communication interdimensional with the helpers. And when you qualify all these demand synaletics, the first point is that you know that you are available for helping the others. And at the same time, you know that if you have a cosmoethical thoughtsanity, the probability of having a helper is high. So you are available and the helpers will help you to make assistance. And through this communication with the synaletics process, we qualify what is the best to be done in this moment. You can speak, you can use your energy, you can be shut down, but many times you just have to listen to the demand and do nothing. Although you are available to all the process, you are not the best one to impact. So it's just about being open, helping others. And so the synaletics, it comes through the interdimensional communication along with the helpers. The presential force, yes. Thanks very much. Next one, please. I would like to congratulate the three papers, three presenters. All of them are working with strong traits, interexistential. And so I would like to put the question to all of them, the three of them. to Eliane and Isilda. I liked a lot your works because you helped me. You went through empathy, energosoma, looseness, and realizing about embracing. So embracing is something that is very good. An evolving embrace is even better. And coming from the helper, I would like you to bring this up, to talk a little bit more about it, and so that we can give names to all of those feelings, all that we are perceiving. And to call specifically, I realized that a slide starts with after the start of Racine. So I would like you to explain about a little bit more about this start of the Racine, to go a little deeper. And to Newton, I would like, he brings up some projective experiences, some aspects of this, and one of them is the presential force. So I've been listening to some research that it comes from paragenetics, this presential force. It's not something intraphysical, it's not something free, for free. How do you see all this context in this question of interstitial strong traits? Thank you very much. Thank you, Marina. So Isilda Eliane, please explain a little bit about the involving embrace or enveloping hug. There are hugs that are not involving, just like a beer. But the case is, talking about these helpers, I don't see the helpers, I see more the assisted ones. But what I feel is that in assistential involvement that makes me feel better than I would, some kind of belonging feeling, belonging to a team. Is this involving that I'm referring to? The Tenepes by yourself only is only intraphysical, and Penta is much more broadened. So I don't know even how to say this, but it's a kind of embrace that involves all my energies. If I would refer this to my holosoma, my energies, but much more the effective part and the ideological, the ideas part. So it's I can't even understand everything that happens, but I can understand the reason and why is that victim being assisted? Why this consciousness is a victim? So that's why I can't think bad about this person. When I judge this consciousness, I just I'm not helping. I'm actually intruding. So the best condition is to be quiet, not to judge, not to think bad, so that I can reach the para-brain of this consciousness. I don't know how to explain, but it's involving in this greatness sense. Well, for me, Penta it's a bigger commitment than an evolutionary duo, a marriage, or others. So this intimacy that I grew up with my helper, when I finished my Penta, I knew that I had to be better than I got in. So this synaletics, when I started my Penta, this perception that the helper just arrived is something that it's inexplicable. It's a weak trait that I'm still working on. But I had this fear of death, but working with my helper, I had this certitude that every day Penta is a daily commitment, and it's a commitment that every day you wait for your helper, and it's a very strong connection, the well-being of finishing the Penta. And when sometimes it doesn't happen, the helper gives me the synalectics that what should I do so that I can be better after the Penta. So it's a partnership along with someone that you have a strong connection, that probably you have a strong connection, the helper. So I felt that when you speak, I was just feeling all this empathy for you as you were talking. But when you write this down, you bring up all this message that Penta it's like a joy. If you are not happy, if you are heavy after the Penta, if you are not feeling bad, and good. And so this is how strong is an involving hug, an embrace. So it's not a beer embrace, just like you said. Thank you very much. You enlightened me about recycling and reticences. I was reading the article, and so answering on page 29 about resin in the previous paragraph. Well, I would not say this, but since you asked me, it has to do with Louisa. And in 2021, after presenting my self-verbate, I was thinking a lot about this. And one of the people that made me think about it was Louisa. And then she told me, Louisa, that you have some kind of stripping. And she insisted me, what do you have as a trait like this? And so she insisted, and then I paid attention to it. And then I realized that why did I not value this this perception of her? And then I just called from my memory some of my livings, and then I realized about some questions. One of them was this question of auscultation. And so I started, besides this, I started thinking about how many people come to talk to me, and then I just realized that they are telling, while they are telling their problems, I realized that I wasn't just caring about it. How do I do? It's a long line of people. So Marina, answering you, after I wrote down my self-verbate and all these reflections, and one of them, it was Louisa that gave me the feedback. So it resonated me. So I knew that I had to do something. So on page 29, I just put a clause here. And the clause is this: from this moment on, when a consciousness comes to talk, I will put myself as a confident, available to hear and to listen and to help. It's not being present in a soma. So it's a self-lucidity process. I try to extend it. So it's a resin process. That's what helped me a lot. Thank you very much. So about the presential force, this presential strength, talking about the empathetic psychosphere and all those energies in order to develop the parapsychic capacity and the more qualified psychosphere, this will develop your presential force. It's not only a paragenetic trait, but the daily qualification has to do directly with that, okay? It's not only inherited by yourself. On call's presentation, I am very interested in 24-hour penta. So all of those aspects, all this baiting process, the quicker I attend this consciousness, the more free is my psychosphere, so that I can bait more consciousness. So when you were talking, I just recall of these ideas that I had, these experiences, and then I just realized that this could be a way to think about 24-hour penta. So the faster you can be available, your psychosphere will be better. So those are ideas that made me think of what do you think, and if you could say something. Well, I just agree. I think it's exactly the same. It makes all sense, what you just said. It's part of the dynamics of deporticity, and for developing the self-deporticity. And in order to be more sustainable in an interexistential way, to free your psychosphere, and our assistance line can be recycled, can be set free. So I would like to thank everybody, mainly the authors. The articles are very good, so I recommend the reading. And thanks for being here with all these friends. We would like to thank all the teachers, the instructors, and Lauisa Barbosa for being the mediator. Now we will have on table 2. So we would like to invite Jaqueline Vieira. Jaqueline Vieira is has a master degree in language. She's driven to conscienciology since 2005, teacher since 2014, a painter practitioner since 2015, author of articles, verbetographer, and the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology, and co-author of the book Autoverbetes, 101 autoverbetographers of the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology. We give floor now to the teacher, to the instructor, Jaqueline Vieira. So first, thank you. I would like to thank you for driving this table, and I would like to share all this moment with my evolutionary colleagues right now. So now I invite the authors Sonia Regina and Ricardo Stefanelli, that will take place anytime self-overcoming of procrastination of Tenepes. So Sonia Diniz has a master's degree in psychology, specialized in comportamental cognitive therapy. Is graduated psychology and researcher of the Invisible College of Tenepsology and volunteer of ICTenep since 2003. And Ricardo Stefanelli is a retired. He's a instructor of musics, postgraduated in master degree as well, in arts and cultures, doctor in education, volunteer of Jurisconsult in Tenepes, researcher of Invisible College of Pentology, and teacher of Conscienciology and Penta practitioner since 2019. And now I would like to invite Lygia Decker to participate here for presenting the articles Synergism, Interstitial, so Lygia Decker is a college instructor, PhD, and volunteer of the CEAEC. She is a volunteer of CEAEC. So first of all, I would like to congratulate. And I would like to congratulate everybody for presenting all the JESCONs. And so the first article from Ricardo Stefanelli, and so please share. So, okay, I'm sharing the slides. Okay, so overcoming pentographic procrastination. So good morning to everyone. I'm very enlightened to be here to share with you. So it's a research of Ricardo and myself. Now we will bring up to you with all this process.
The motivation that we had writing this paper, it was to share the pentographic JESCON. So we brought it here, how we did this overcome, what's our strategy to overcome this omissive and procrastinate behavior. Omissive because we did not write, and procrastinated because we would let everything to write later, looking for excuses. And then we verified that we had a journey in conscienciology. And then our production in this sense, in this area, it was very shy. And then it came this motivation. So then we are going to go through the factors inhibiting, because we realized that there are a lot of people that has a lot of experience, but the writing production, it's very restricted. The person likes to join courses and then share experience, but the person maybe have some difficulties on the writing, and then we make this look for the factors enabling the elaboration, creation, full development of the consciential gestations, and then make a little bit of promotion here. In the Penta CI, we have a course of deepening in pentography. And then in February and March, we had an edition of this course. And then we are everybody together. And then in such a moment, we went to the notes. And the thematic of this course, we have a field in place, and then I did this remote course. And then I start to have ideas related to the writing. So many experiences that I had that I could be shared with the people before, and I never done. Then why not? What's difficult? And then during this field, it came an insight right with Ricardo. Then I was surprised at that moment because we are volunteer colleagues, but we are not so close. And then we are close enough to talk about the personal life of each other. And then what I'm going to do with this information, okay? I could not ignore it because that was not impression. It was very strong, very clear, very present. And then I approached, how could I approach Ricardo to talk about that? And then I stay all the course thinking about how I would approach the situation. Then I send a message on WhatsApp to him, how are you doing? What do you think? And then I start to approach him. And then the conversation flow. And for my surprise, and Ricardo has a very similar story like mine. And then we start to realize the affinities, a lot of similar experience and in the personal life. Then I thought, the moment is now. And then I showed to him, and then I put in the camera. Ricardo, I had this intuition here. Okay, to understand what will be our weak trait. Okay, to discuss about what weak trait of not doing the just related to Penta, and he was very open, but also very surprised. Well, do you think that we have material to write? How is your Penta? Do you take notes? I have lots of things. He has almost 25 years of Penta. I have lots of material. So that's it. And then that's the way that we started. And then we have the motivation to write this paper. And then I'm going to pass the word to Ricardo to share his. It's interesting, Sonia, because after Max presented the Penta 24 hours, I think that procrastination, the time of procrastination, our topic here could be nosographic pathologic. Since when I knew conceptuology in 1994, I have three interesting moments. I always a determined person to keep continuity in the research, and that you have an idea, you first have an idea. When in 1996, I went to know the Penta manual. Then from that day with the manual, we had the celebration Rio de Janeiro. My hypothesis, it was the first time that has research groups being developed. It was kind of round tables. Who wants to start Penta? Who wants to start with that? And then in 1998, I knew Pilar. That's a good friend. We started São Paulo IIPC. And then the research group, conceptuological research group. Then we look at the readings about Penta every day. And then I had difficulty about reading. So Pilar saying, go on and go and writing. You're going to find your topic. And in 1999, I started practicing in the Penta. I decided to start the Penta. And then from 2000 to 2005, I need to improve my mental soma. And then I went the author's course with Professor Valdo, during 4 years, about how to write, how to take notes. It was a lot of things. And now, Sonia, we went to the deepening of this theme here in 2023. So it was a overcoming path that I need to go. And then I can tell you that I was kind of literally, okay, I could not read, I could not write. And so people, when start the Penta, had difficulty reading. And then we can go deepening later. Let's go to the next slide. So the general objectives, it's demonstrate how self-research can clarify the self-imposed artifice that cause the impediment of personal notes on experience and penta perceptions. How do we create our barriers for not to write? So I have a easy to do the writing, and then Ricardo also he dedicated a lot of time to write and develop the writing. And why in Conscienciology we did not have it? So through the self-research, we can go through so can like go and work on. And the specific objectives is how to overcome the procrastination in the production of pantographic GESCOM, how we overcome it, and also to demonstrate the benefits of instruments and techniques to overcome procrastination. That brings us important information. And then our biggest question, what are the personal characteristics that the Penta practitioners has in their behavior? And then what in their life can cause this procrastination? The person has an intellectual development, it's a Penta practitioner for a long time, can show that it's assistential, but why cannot put it on the paper? Exclusivity on the topic of Penta. It causes a lot of tension. And then we divided the paper in 4 main areas. First, the common characteristics of Penta practitioner in procrastinators, cause and effects of pantographic for Penta practitioners, and the effect of in the person. Then we went through the self-awareness and coping with pantographic procrastination. So, and then we will go looking at the mechanisms that make us go to the procrastination. And the last chapter, it's we cover the overcoming, and also we are bold to talk about prescriptions about the optimizations for the pantographic GESCOM. That it helped us to change our reality when we adopt that behaviors, and we want here to share with you. So let's deepening a little bit. What would be the core of the procrastination? What does it mean? I'm going to read because it's very deep. Pantographic procrastination is the act of the penta practicing, putting off the task of writing the proscript to the penta until another time, and thus postponing notes of their perceptions and recurring phenomenal events in the energy task. Such behavior results in a more precise and reliable mnemonic lag of self-experience and a shortage of data for the elaboration of pantographic content. The fact that you cannot trust in the memory, because when you don't write during that moment that you have that holotoscenic pocket, the moment that you finish, that's the ideal moment to write. Okay, you cannot trust in your memory to write something that happened like 2 days before. So this kind of behaviors, we are going to start to have the idea, but we are not going to have the details. So it's very common to hear during the courses the people saying that I do not take notes because I did not experience anything. So the notes are daily things. None day are like other. Today we are 1 day older than yesterday. Maybe today, this moment, you're not perceiving. But when you take your notes from some time ago with your view that you have today, you can reread it and then understand how was your life in that moment and how it influenced your penta. And that if you don't have writing, you don't have data. If you don't have data, you don't have material. It's not possible to write only with your head. You need the foundations here. And then going back to the topic that you do not register because you don't have experience. And then even to understand, to have the experience, even if you don't have experience, you need to understand what your experience during that period. Okay, we have my penta place. How was the conditions that was that time? Or what were the conditions in my life that period of time, in that moment? So like there are numerous factors that influence our daily practice. And the notes, I want to reassure that's very important. Have you or not experienced in that day? So I'm going to pass the word to Ricardo because he's going to bring another topics about the behavior of these meta practitioners that has the trend to procrastinate. So as we are talking, we are going to make this game here, passing the words from me to her and vice versa. I placed it here 5 items that are more connected with me on this moment. I want to highlight the ones that so the first one, apathetic. So several times I'm indifferent to the paraphenomena. The phenomena relate to being a lucid bait. Sometimes I'm lucid, sometimes I'm not. So I think between this, moving from one to the other. The bait I keep an another item here. Dispersive. I am very not I do not have the proper attention to the mental somatic fixation. I move my mind from one place to the other. And then this lack of care, of not having attention, being inattentive to insights, I lose the moment with the helper. Another topic, the distracted. When the assistant shows to have the work of the vibration state, I lost the notion of the field. I go out of the connection with the helper, thinking about the dog or the food. Then I start to get distracted. And another item that's not here, that carries disconnection, soma, psychosoma, and mental soma. Why that? Sometimes I keep an imbalance between the three. I do not have this intersubstantial connection. And sometimes I lose the connection. I'm not sure if you want to place others that you have. And yesterday, Max talked a lot about the Penta 24 hours and called my attention this topic. There are a couple of things that we have anxiety. There are things that are more common. So for whoever wants to get to the Penta 24 hours, this for me, it was a point that's important to highlight. So in total, we listed 20 behaviors. In our paper, it's more detailed. And if you have a problem to take notes at that moment, please take a look and read it. These 20 behaviors are very well detailed on the paper. And then maybe you can identify yourself with some of these behaviors. So we have other slides, and then we have limited time. Then we have the causes. So we have 7 causes. I'm going to highlight. And then I reviewed, we did a review of some of the papers, and I read 4 verbetes that are entries that are connected here to the procrastination of experience, perceptions, notes. And then I highlight the first cause, the verbete from Professor Wald from 2006, acrasia. So it's important to check this verbete. So as consequence, I was another one that it was when the people erase it. It's very connected with very strong about what happens in the life. And then another two verbetes that complement with cause and consequence with two factors. That's a void on my cultural formation. And then another verbete. Another one. It was a city. So 4 verbetes, 4 entries that for me help me to make a proper diagnostic. Like let's from the first causes, it was discouragement. If the person start to perceive that it has a discouragement, it starts to be something positive, because the person realized that it's not a matter of not being capable, but they are just discouraged. So I'm going to move very swiftly here. We listed several causes: discouragement, demotivation, devaluation, egocentrism, impatience to do other things, perfectionism, wants to make that a mega gestion, mega treatise, and do not accept less, pusillanimity. So it's like flight in the face of difficulties. So to the self-confrontation techniques, we use it the dawn technique from teacher Malo Balona, the technique of the daily gestionographic task from Denise Tornieri, and then the technique of personal writing task, text pass. So that's a technique before the practice, before the technique. Overcoming optimizations. There are verifications from the soma. So to get the changes, we got 12. And then we have a phrase here: overcoming and not procrastination penta notes, offer better assistance to the assisted and the penta practitioner. The results is clarification and penta exemplarism. I went through very quickly because it's finished our time, but I consider very important to make this reading of the causes, because after 10 years of Tenepes, the penta, is that I got some ideas about factors that made it difficult this writing, and then I invite everybody to deepening on the reading, and then on the questions we may clarify any other topics. Thank you, everyone, and let's go.
Congratulations, Sonia and Ricardo, for your presentation. And we give place to Ligia Decker. Give floor to her for her article, Interassistential Synergism, Pentographology, and Verbetographology. Verbetographology. So good morning, everyone who are here present, and for the online attendance as well, all over the world. Had a problem with the signal. And so to say that this paper that I'm going to present here, I'm going to talk a little bit about a lot of things that I gathered through many years of Penta. I started it in 2017, so I don't have that much experience, but I consider that these experiences are worth sharing. And I'm happy to think that since yesterday, there was no presentation that touched me concerning verbotrography. All of them did. So I'm going to talk about some self-experiences concerning synergies in pentographology and verbotrographology. So let's go. So the article is on page 49 of Consciência magazine. And starting by the objective, I said that the main objective is to share theoretical self-experiences of interexistential synergism, pentographology, verbotrographology, and fostering reflections on its importance in the expansion and mental somatic self-qualification of the penta-practitioner. So I know that there is a lot of very experienced verbotrographers and penta-practitioners. So this use for qualifying our mental somatic condition is very important. So when I was preparing this paper, when I was writing it down, since I'm talking about verbotrography or verbotrographology, that's the science that studies all this process of verbotrography. So I wanted to structure my paper following the encyclopedia structure as well. So I just proposed 6 sections in the structure: conformatics, factuistics, detailing, prophylology, argumentology, and finishing. So it's important to say here that I didn't follow exactly the comfort of the encyclopedia, that it's a little bit different. But starting from this conformatic, but before of this, we will talk about the methodology. So I try to gather conceptual basis of the conscienciology knowledge corpus, signal. So we are experiencing some problems with the signal. Please stand by. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you, but I can't hear Lydia. It's probably a connection with the auditorium. Because everyone that was online just fell down. Hello. Hello, please stand by. We are having some energy problems, and soon we'll be right back. Thanks for the comprehension. So please stand by while energy is getting back at CEAEC. We have problems with energy in CEAEC, but we'll be right back in a few moments. Thanks for the comprehension. Please, just a couple of moments. We're just getting back. So we're just getting back. It was a coffee break. So now it's serious conversation. Yes, a sustainable pause. So please, you're getting back. So getting back with this article. So welcome again. And just one slide back, please. I was talking about the methodology, and I used the conceptual basis of the conscientiology knowledge corpus, what includes verbatology, pentology, and other specialties. And then I based myself in the self and hetero production, theories of self and hetero production, pentographic and verbatographic. So in casuistics, I'm going to explain these two sides. So concerning conformatics, we start defining, please, can pass. So the phenology, the interexistential synergism, pentographology, verbotographology is the sum of positive enhancing facts of evolutionary interassistance resulting from the technical and theoretical studies of pentography and verbatography, reverberating in wholesale benefit capable of qualifying and improving the penta and interassistance provided. So we try to do an encyclopedia-like definition. And so the synergism is all of this that comes to enhance our pantographic assistance based on these two studies. So we think that this brings up a broadened effect so that we can be more qualified for penta practice. And so we talk about the stylistics and the stylistic. It's a conscienciological verbetography, lato sensu. It's a variable structure. With a variable structure, for instance, the argumentary dictionary of conscienciology. Those are verbets that Instructor Waldo brought up, and who is used to read this dictionary can see that Instructor Waldo brings up a very colloquial, a very common language, but he uses an elaborate structure with Latin sections and subsections. So this is some kind of more flexible verbetography. And then the encyclopedic verbetography, the stricto sensu, a more specific stylistic structure, thoroughly recommended for each section of the verbet. This is the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology. It's based in this comfort of the encyclopedia. So we have the fatuistics. Some facts that I'm just highlighting here. Writing, the graphic records. That's why I understand concerning the disbelief principle. These graphic records of the self-experience of the pentologists, verbetologists' self-experiences act as a prophylaxis of energetic remnants of parapathologies of the assistant and predispose the writer consent to self-knowledge and better interaction with the function helper. So these records, they act as prophylactics just of these energetic remnants, because we are dealing with the parapathologies of the assistant. And so these records helps a lot with the de-assimilations and the ending of the interassistance process. We, as penta practitioners, we are active parts of the process. And besides this, we are getting closer to our helper and working better with him. So this writing brings the parapsychic grapho interassistential autonomy that I think that a lot of people here has the affinity with all these subjects. So I bring up as well this thinking, this pensata, that the government of oneself precedes the government of the multitude. So only those who govern themselves dominate the realities of the cosmos. That is, the senses, mental attributes, and self-perceptions. It has all to do with this interassistential, grapho-interassistential process. So concerning fatuistics, I bring up all these questions that pentology is the specialty with the highest number of publications. So when I submitted this paper, we had at that time 121 verbets on penta subject written by 51 verbetographers covering 41 specialties of conscienciology. So we have a huge amount of information. It's a pentoteca or tenepsoteca. So we have a lot of information access coming from the forum. The forum is a great source of information concerning this. So I bring up other thinking of pensata, that the true intermissivists writes and defends the verbate of the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology at the Tertulliarium. So we just feel just like an obligation of who is intermissivist by hypothesis, that he should write down a verbate. And encyclopedia nowadays has more than 1,000 verbatographers. So it's a huge project, a very relevant one. Well, concerning detailism, I would call attention, I would remark the question of this expansion of the self-cognition collection. So this synergism, this pentasynergism conscienciological specialty, it qualifies us in this sense. So another pensata of Instructor Waldo, and when I read this, it had an impact on me. So there are 5 specific self-proexological characteristics of the personality of the lucid intermissivist conscient. So who is aware of his intermissivist condition should think about, theoretically applies the personal code of cosmoethics, participate in the Gainea Pig conscient course of conscious, defended the verbate of the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology, regularly practiced Spenta, has already published or is preparing to publish their book on an evolutionary theme, aiming at multi-existential self-relay. So Penta and self writing down, it couldn't be outside of the Penta question. And then again, I have mentioned the groupality and the maxi-proexology questions. So concerning prophilology, this section of the encyclopedia, where we can say who is involved. So the main focus is the pentologist and the verbatologist, who are who studies this subject properly. But we can't leave outside the pentable conscient, the penta-practitioner himself, the verbatographer, the communicologist, parapsychic, ectoplast, and the projected conscient, and the assisted projected conscient. Even the ophiaxists, the projected penta-practitioner. So it's broader than we bring up in the paper. So concerning the paracastology, the main focus are the extraphysical helpers. But concerning this category, we can talk about a lot of other concepts. For instance, parapentologists, paraverbatologists, paraperceptors, para-writers. I see students, paratertulians, the paraconscienciologists, assisted conscients, intruders, mega intruders, students from the intermissivist course. So the idea here is bring up to our Penta universe all this cast of conscient and conscients involved in all this writing process, mainly concerning this interaction of pentologists and verbatologists. So I just mentioned the trivocabular Tolkien Penta interdimensional megaportal. So let's move on, the argumentology. Self-production. So just in order to give examples for who preceded me, I bring up here 2 of my self-livings. One of self-production, and it's from October 25, 2018. I was just starting my conscienciology process, and I had this inspiration to start the daily registration of the Penta Matter Thosin. I had this inspiration. The Matter Thosin of my Penta. So at the end of each session, besides my para-perceptions and everything else that I used to make registrations, I started making the matter-tocene penta registrations. Matter-tocene. And then, since I started collecting all this data, it came to me the idea of writing down this article that was published at the 15th Penta Forum, and then I just published this verbet, Penta Matter Tocenography, during the forum week, and all of this. So the self-production gives example of the synergism. So it just got together the self-production and the heteroproductions. And then my Penta diary was very important. And then the second casuistic is this heteroproduction. And it involves verbets of colleagues of mine, Penta practitioners. So this is a hypothesis of Penta assistance to poetic literary production groups, something different from my daily reality. So I'm going to present here very quick. I presented these casuistics on the forum this year, but I'm going to bring up in the future publication.
This experience happened when I was in Burghausen, Germany, in the south of Germany, in the border with Austria. So it happened by the time that I was starting the Penta around 2020, and close to the pandemic. And then I exchanged a message with another Penta practitioner that was also in Europe. And from these discussions, it came several perceptions that assisting a group connect to
So it's just like if I was talking to specific concepts with the new paradigm that is the consensual new paradigm. So I found this very interesting because at that time, we didn't even have had this verbet. The postfashion from Isilda, our colleague here, that's here participating. And so she did the postfashion and the prefashion. So that's exactly the interaction. The pre-words and the afterwords. So the afterwords of my Penta. So the other verbet that got into this casuistic is the one from Osvaldo, the one about resignification of concepts. So his verbet, the first word, reperspectivation of, it's a very interesting conscienciological textual reperspectivation. So it's a text from Balzac that it's related to conscienciological paradigm. And then I felt myself inside all this context doing all of this thinking about this reperspectivation in my point of view. Well, let's see if it's ready. So I'm just getting quick here. So just making a resume of all this mental somaticity process, I would like to call the attention for some attributes. The first one is the self-discernment. In order to have discernment about our evolutionary choices, the assistential ones, the intrusion. Yesterday, we could see this a lot about Max lecture, about our parapsychic capacity. So the detailism itself, that is paying attention to the details, but being able to make an analysis and synthesis to understand the intersubstantial context at that moment. So the intellectuality as well, that concerns paracerebral, dictionary of the Penta dictionary, and then the parapsychism that deals with this interdimensional communication that Penta, in last analysis, is, in fact. So finishing, just being very brief here, because you have all this detailed in the article. So I was just thinking about some prescription, an interverbat network. And then I used 4 levels of Penta, just proposed by Cristiane Gilabert in 2018. So I selected 5 verbets of each phases. And so in the initial phase, anticipation of Penta, pro-Penta self-tokenization, Penta Bolconsim, pre-Penta extrapolationism, jejunum, Penta practitioner, new learning. And then the maintenance phases with Penta practitioner self-assessment, consolidation of Penta, pentological professionalism, pentological 5-year period, pentological racemophilia, and then the evolution. So the initial phase could be the first 6 months of Penta, then the maintenance until the 3-year of Penta, then the evolution would be the consolidation, what involves the pentability scale, the Penta evolution, the Penta scale, the 24-hour Penta, new stage, inventory, and then the last stage, the OFX stage, the pre-OFX stage, that there are some verbets here that who is in this stage could be benefited about all these studies of OFX, and then the self longevity and everything else. So those are just a couple of subjects that I put here to fit this article. So each one of the Penta practitioners could broaden this. Besides the Penta time, the Penta chronological time, it could have other approaches. More, for instance, focus more on the holosoma, psychosoma, soma, energosoma. So it's just an idea of how could we go through an encyclopedical approach.
So I finish with the emphatic phases. Self-insertion in the intersubstantial synergies, pentographology, verbetographology, can enhance the mental somatic qualification, favoring the completeness of the intellectual self-proex of the Penta verbetographer. So some questions that I bring. Have you, Penta practitioner, experienced facts and facts showing signs of the pentographology, verbetographology, intersubstantial synergies? And do you identify and enjoy the effects of these synergies? And then I would like to thank you all for this opportunity, and then placing myself for the questions. But since I have some time, I would like to present the music here. Okay, so I'm going to try to open it. So I need to click it. That's a music from Chico Buarque of Holanda. All Sentiment. The name in free translation. Some technical difficulties to play the video. So just a second. So it seems that it's not going through. Okay. I would like I'd like to ask your patience because this inspiration to share this music, it came during this week, so I have not yet presented it. So the translation of the music, this is a music from Chico Buarque. The name of the music in Portuguese is Todo Sentimento. Free translation would be All the. Okay, so they are trying to play the music. So it seems that it will not be possible, technical possible to present it. So we are going to improvise here. So the music started to present there. It would be something like all the feeling that time. So coming on. I need not to sleep until our time is consumed. I need to lead a time for loving you. I need a time for loving you slowly and with urgency. I tend to find out in the last moment a time that will do what was undid, that takes all the feeling and puts back in the body again. The sound is not so good. I promise one Until the love falls, will you I prefer them to go away in time so we can untangle ourselves. After losing you, I will find you for sure. Maybe in the delicate time when we want to say a word, nothing happened. I will just follow, like enchanted by your side. I'm a terrible singer, but that's the lyrics. Okay, thank you very much. We end up being able to. Congratulations to the way that you deal with the power outage. So I would like to congratulate all the authors for the both articles, both papers, to the deepening and to the assumption of the pantography as a way to qualify our penta. And I would like to highlight the mental somatic development of all the authors and preparing the articles, and then closing with the music and the Ligia's presentation. So it came an idea about how can we develop the mental somatic without discarding the value of all the holosoma. So the usage of the mental soma to comprehend our sentiments and our emotions, so we can deal better with the psychosoma without constraints to our sentiments, because then we can develop the empathy that we said on the first table. With the consciousness that we have some connection, we need to do a rapport. So I want to highlight the presentation from the group here, and then the importance of writing after the Penta session. And that's that moment that provide us dates, research dates, data for our writing. So I suggest the reading of both papers for whoever has lots of material, and then several times keep the research, the records, the inside the drawer without sharing with other the practitioners, without other researchers. So that's two papers that are very important to once you develop the pantography. So I'm going to go through the questions. And then at the end, I'm going to make my own questions. We have one question over there. And we have also questions online. Okay. Hello, good morning. Congratulations to all the authors. My question goes to Ligia. Ligia, I'm not sure if I missed the point, but the expression of this music how did it came to you? I did not know this music from Chico, and I found it wonderful, beautiful. So I would like to share this inspiration. So it very fast. It's like I did not have the time to share the experience. But what happened is that after this discussion between the two penta practitioners, it was like if I got into the aisle of immersion of the music and poetry. And then I had a need to listen to musics, and I knew this music from Tchaikovsky. And then I start listening to it several times, and then I'm going to write this lyric because I did not remember some details. And then as I was writing the lyrics, it came this idea. He's talking about the soma, and then it brings the idea of the multi-existential cycle, and then about the groupality. So the relations until it gets to the end, and then the connection with the penta. That the relation that after a lot of conflicts, dissidence, there is a reciprocation in the sense of friendship and helping. It has a lot with the process that I'm undergoing right now. And then I start to make connections with questions of my family, because music and family, music and poetry, it's very strong in my family, despite the fact that I did not go through this field, because thanks I did not go through the music and poetry, because probably I would deviate from my proex. But that moment when I start to listen, I was connecting with groups from my past, and then I needed to make an assistance in a mental somatic way, going out from the emotions itself, but going through something more for a sentiment, more close to a mental somatic matter. That's the penta. I had a lot of insights and ideas with with it. And the main message to me, it was pay attention with the groups that you had connections in the past lives, not only in the present life. So my partner of my current penta, it was attending, assisting people connect to this life, more like science. And then it came a group that I was not paying attention. And then I make also connection with my the song of my mother that used to play the piano, my grandmother, and then it has a connections with group karmic assistance. Congratulations to the authors. The papers are very assistential, and thanks for bringing this music. So you brought the paper in the sense of widening the self-cognition. And my question is in the sense of Max yesterday talked about the ceiling. In your vision, if it doesn't happen, the writing connect to with the penta practitioner would be hit a ceiling that he would go beyond if they would be writing, or if there is no writing, we are going to level our penta in a lower level. So I think that penta involves writing, starting with the penta diaries. Who does not have a penta diary, it's losing opportunities to make records registers of things that you do not understand in in that moment. After 2, 3, 4 years, you get your penta diary, and then you start to thinking in a different way, in the things that you were not thinking before. So writing, it's an important pillar for penta. Without the writing, the penta practitioner could be in a lower level, okay, under level. So it's going to be, the penta practitioner would be assistential, but would not be challenging themselves, okay? It's important to challenge yourself, and the writing helps with it to increase your self-cognition. I cannot see a penta without writing. So just to complement, there are 2 moments that we have it. It's the moment that you write after the event. As it was explained by the previous authors, and the other moment that when you compile all the records you can goes to sharing the data from your registers. If the penta practitioner do not make your records just after the penta, could be a signal that it's not doing the self-research follow-up with their penta practice. So that penta practitioner could go to a stagnation point. So it's the penta practitioner is donating energies, but it's not reflecting. Okay, and if you're not reflecting, you're not going to be able to do your self-qualification. So you're going to share your experience, so you can also help other penta practitioners to advance on their practice. I want also to complement Carl mentioned in the previous table that the process of the writing process is much wider than the moment that the penta practitioner is writing. It's a complete sequence of events. So the idea to present the music, it just came on the last days because I did not include that. Each time that we revisit something that we wrote, every time that you publish again with a different view, things about penta, so you are widening your assistance into that theme. It's not self-limiting. Writing helps you to give continuity and reaching publics that you would not reach without the writing. And that's something that you stay. You go and the book stays. The verbet stays. The encyclopedia is here. It's something that you don't give a value of the reach that it has, of the graphic register. And it's something very serious to the penta practitioner to think.
So there are 2 aspects that interact. And as you start writing, you are clarifying yourself from association of ideas. And then you started assisting all these concepts, the group karm, related to these themes, to these subjects. So this public could be driven, could be lead to a pentological work. And the online, we have a question. So good afternoon. Good morning. It's 2 minutes yet. So congratulations to everyone. beautiful works, fantastic, this second table. And so it was very synchronic, this statement of Lydia about this music, because my question was related to the communicability. And since it was all spoken, I agreed that everything must be written. I'm a penta practitioner for a long time. I'm a writer for a long time and a pentologist for a couple of time, a little time. And so my question in the subject goes to the three of them. I would like to know about you, instructor Sonia, instructor Ricardo, and instructor Ligia. What is the weight of the communicability for who is in this stage, for this starting of Penta? So I identified myself with all these works that were presented here. Sonia and Ricardo, please. In my opinion, the communicability has the relation with the formation. If the person, the penta practitioner, does not develop the writing, the arguments, Ligia herself puts this in the end of the presentation, that this is very important. If you don't have this sequence of understanding of penta, the initial phase and then the other written, I don't remind all of them exactly, but the stages of penta, I didn't note here. But basically, the communication is over there. If you communicate with the helper, with the concepts that are related, I think that this is important so that you develop yourself as a penta practitioner. So Ligia puts this in the end, that what is to be a penta practitioner? So this is my point of view. Well, Aparecida, I think that there's no way to run away from it. The communicability is very important, but the record is what remains. So the more someone can express, even if someone can express these ideas, this passes. But the registers, the records, it stays and can be read by others. And for instance, a lot of time after you presented a verbete, a lot of people just watched it or read it and then talk to you that identified himself or herself with your publication, with your verbete. So the record overcomes the communicability, in my point of view. So I would like just to add about communicability, how the Encyclopedia of Conscienciology is a vehicle that deals with a lot of ways of communication, not only the writings, the records, starting from the self-exposition of the verbetographer. And then he writes down, he must follow this system of writing down of the encyclopedia, but he has this communicability process with the reviewers. And so during all the time, he must, the verbetographer must review his positions. And at the end of this process, he must expose himself by presenting the stories at the tertuliarium. So I think that Penta is not different from that. It's interdimensional communication all the time. So it's not only the proximity with the helper and the communication, even telepathic one. We don't talk to the helper, but we can capture this information. So it's the communication in order to facilitate this assistance. Each one that is assistant has its own bias, its own facility, and the singularity of the penta practitioner has to do with this communication, because all this public that a penta practitioner can reach is much different from the other penta practitioners. So this singularity that was so spoken here has all to do with the penta practitioner holobiography. So what did he develop through many lives and lives that makes him capable of better communicating through speaking, through writing, through parapsychism, and even through pangraphy, who is able to do that, who has this capability, this advanced capability. So communication is essential in all senses, and writing is it's just makes it easier. Well, can I make a question? Can I ask a question? Well, I'm trying to be objective due to the time, but when Sonia said about in the beginning of the helper, so when it happened, this connection, it touched me a lot in this part of the statement when Sonia said in the beginning that if you have intellectual development, you are penta practitioner for a long time. Why don't you write it down? Why don't you use all these records? So I liked it a lot, and then you just said 50% of those items, of the 20 items, you can say about all of the causes, egocentrism and all of other causes. And in this sense, I would like you to focus, to say something about it, acrasia, pedagogy, and acidic, that directed your exposition. So I'm very grateful for you for this presentation, but I would like just a couple of words further for us to start noting, recording down. And then Lydia, I just liked your verbitographic network. It was very quick when you said that, but I understood that you made this overall statement about it. So thank you very much. Well, can I start? Thank you, Marina, for the question. So one thing that touched me a lot during all this self-research is that it was said in the previous table, the main cause is it's not the valorization of the practice itself. So we can identify this ourselves, that the great difficulty of writing down about penta, since in other fields it's not that difficult, but writing down penta specifically is the undervalorization, undervalue of does this just happen just to me? Who will be interested in this? So it's the point of not giving value to this. It's the main reason, this devaluation. It's the main reason of not writing it down. So it's thinking that it's only about me. This it's not a penta relevant experience. So you should value more your experiences so that you can make these records, and those are important records. Marina, something that I can say here is the result. The important is get to your result. There is a lot of people that is developing his records, and since the beginning, with the instructor Waldo, used to incentivize ourselves, to encourage ourselves and check out the result. That's what is important. Where did we reach? What did we be able to produce? So our research, our verbats, that's what is the most important, the GESCONs, get to the result. So, Marina, what I presented concerning this interverb network is based on this receptuary of verbetes. There is even a book, this prescription of verbetes. So, in a general way of thinking, it's a systematization, a classification about this prescription, about this recipe, this prescription. So the idea in this article was to create a list, limited through by the space, of course, but to select between those 123 verbetes concerning penta, is to select a recipe, a prescription concerning this, with focus on the writing itself, on the dispersion, for instance, on other penta stages. So the idea is for us to have this self-prescription, the self-recipe, using all the resources from Encyclopedia of Conscienciology, and then list your verbetes that are important to you. So in the article, it's a little bit more explained. So you will be able to broaden this, link it to your self-demands. So that's what is important. We are getting to the end of this desk, of this table. And then I would like to just 2 more questions to ask to the authors. And to the first article, I would just like you to say something about the strong traits that you identified from the assumption of the tenepsography. You said a lot about the difficulties, the problems that you had, but I would like to understand about these pentography writings. So yesterday, when Max was opening, he said a lot about the roof of this, the limit. And then when he said about this on his lecture, I find this very interesting, and the overcoming open for this kind of information. That's the result that Ricardo brought, that when you see all the results of your gestons, of your writings, what comes from it, it opens new possibilities exactly for you to understand, to perceive, where can I reach to, and then identifying this limit, this roof. It comes from the writing of penta registration, penta records. So it gave me the opportunity to dive into penta, understand what's happening for whom, and what is the result of all of this. So records of penta brought me all of this openness and made me realize myself inside the interexistential process. What is missing? Where can I reach? What do I need to improve? And all of this from this overcoming, it all came from this overcoming. Well, besides the determination that you just mentioned, I've just enlisted 3 of aspects of what I saw that I've been working with, and that's exactly determination, continuity, and benevolence. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Sonia. Rosie, please, would you like to ask your question? Well, I would like to ask a question about what advice would you give us so that we can reach to this level of pentography or pentographology and verbetographology. It is something broadened. What advice would you give us so that we can reach this level? Well, if we can give an advice, something with my own experience, self-conscientization is the first one, self-awareness. So it's understanding that you really have this difficulty to write it down. If everybody knows that is difficult, but even though make records and cannot transform it into a GISCON, first be aware of this difficulty. So if I have this difficulty to write down to produce GISCON from my records. So if I have this experience, so he brought up all his experiences from these courses, from IC Tenepes, and we have these courses of pantographic writings. So we have to experience all of this, and you have to have all this material to produce your GESCON. So self-awareness and investing in what you consider a weak trait so that you can overcome this and get to this level that you want. Well, I'm going to answer with two words, self-research and recyclings. Well, thank you, everyone. Sonia, Ricardo, Lígia, congratulations for your presentations, for the self-exemplarism, pantographic, and thanks everybody for participating on this morning on both tables, both online and presential ones. And then we are going to call again our MCs. So we appreciate the participation of the self-researching teachers present and at this table and the mediation of Instructor Louisa. So we finish and we will get back by at 2:30 p.m. exactly. And so we wish you all a good lunch. Thank you very much.